They say the river Mongo never forgets. It remembers every promise made on its banks, every oath sworn under its moonlit waters, and every betrayal committed against its ancient spirits. Kofi Mensah thought he was smarter than the river. He thought he could take everything and give nothing. But the river had been watching him long before he ever cast his first net. And when the mermaid came, Kofi's fate was already sealed. Kofi Mensah was a fisherman from the small village of Abam, nestled along the banks of the river Mongo in Cameroon. He was not always a bad man. Once he had been kind, a young man with a warm smile and a generous heart, who shared his catch with widows and fed children who wandered near the riverbank hungry and barefoot. But years of poverty had carved something dark into Kofi's soul. 12 years of waking before sunrise, casting his nets into cold water and returning home with barely enough fish to feed his own family had broken something inside him. His wife, Adeze, worked extra hours weaving baskets to supplement their income. His 2 children wore torn clothes to school. And every evening, as Kofi sat by the river staring at his empty nets, bitterness grew inside him like a weed nobody could uproot. His neighbors in Abam were not wealthy either, but some had better seasons than others. Old Baba Chuku, who lived 3 huts down, had recently built a new roof. The trader Emeka had bought a motorcycle, and everywhere Kofi looked, he saw people moving forward while he remained stuck, anchored to his poverty like a boat with no oars. "Why me?" he would ask the river every night. "I work harder than all of them. I wake earlier. I stay longer. Why does the river not reward me?" But the river never answered, until one Thursday night in November, when everything changed. It was past midnight when Kofi decided to try one last cast before heading home. The village was asleep. The moon hung low and heavy over the river like a lantern someone had forgotten to take inside. The water was unusually still. No current, no ripple, as if the river itself was holding its breath. Kofi threw his net wide and waited. Then he saw her. At first, he thought it was a log floating near the surface. Then he thought it was a large fish, perhaps a catfish or a river monitor. But as the shape drifted closer, Kofi's heart nearly stopped. She was a woman from the waist up, beautiful beyond any description his tongue could form. Her skin was deep and luminous, like polished ebony kissed by starlight. Her hair floated around her like black silk in slow motion. And from the waist down, where legs should have been, a long, magnificent tail broke the water's surface, scales shimmering green and gold in the moonlight. Kofi stumbled backward and nearly fell into the river. "Do not run." Her voice was calm, deep, and musical, like the sound a river makes when it flows over smooth stones. "I mean you no harm, Kofi Mensah." Kofi froze. You know my name?" She said, "I know everything about you. I have watched you fish these waters for 12 years. I have seen your struggles. I have heard your prayers." She paused, tilting her head slightly, "and I have decided to help you." Kofi's mouth went dry. "What are you?" She said, "I am Eyamba, guardian of the river Mongo, and I am offering you a gift." Eyamba explained the terms slowly and clearly, as if speaking to someone she already knew would one day forget them. Every morning when Kofi cast his first net, it would be full. Not half full, not moderately full, completely, abundantly full. More fish than any fisherman in the village had ever caught in a single day. He would never go hungry again. His children would go to school with good clothes. His wife would never weave another basket out of desperation. He would be comfortable, respected, provided for. But there was one condition. Eyamba said, "On the first day of every month, you will return to this exact spot at midnight. You will bring an offering of palm wine, white kola nut, and fresh corn. You will pour it into the river and speak words of gratitude. Nothing more, nothing less. Can you do this, Kofi Mensah? Kofi almost laughed. Was that all? One small ritual per month in exchange for a lifetime of abundance. He would have agreed to far more. Yes, he said without hesitation. Eyamba studied him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then she said something that Kofi would later wish he had taken more seriously. Greed is a river with no banks, Kofi. Once it overflows, it drowns everything, including the man who fed it. Remember that. Then she slipped beneath the surface of the water and was gone, leaving nothing but a faint shimmer of green and gold light that faded within seconds. It was the very next morning that Kofi's net nearly tore from the weight of fish inside it. He pulled and pulled until his arms shook, and when the net finally broke the surface, the catch was so enormous that 2 passing fishermen had to help him drag it to shore. Word spread through Abam like wildfire. Within 3 months, Kofi Mensah had become the most prosperous fisherman on the River Mungo. He sold fish at the market, supplied restaurants in the nearby town, and hired 2 young men from the village to help him manage his growing business. He built a new house with zinc roof and tiled floors. His children attended the best school in the district. Adeze stopped weaving baskets and instead opened a small food stall that thrived because of Kofi's generous supplies. People who once ignored Kofi now greeted him warmly. The village chief invited him to sit among elders at community meetings. His name was spoken with admiration. And every first day of the month, without fail, Kofi returned to the river at midnight with his offering: palm wine, white kola nut, and fresh corn. He poured it into the water, spoke his gratitude, and went home. For 2 years, everything was perfect. Then the greed arrived. It started with a thought, a small, poisonous thought that crept into Kofi's mind one evening as he counted his earnings. What if I caught even more? Eyamba had given him abundance, but Kofi had begun to see abundance as a ceiling rather than a blessing. He wanted more fish, more money, more power. He started casting his nets deeper into the river, into zones the village elders had always declared sacred and forbidden. He started fishing at hours Eyamba had never sanctioned. And slowly, without realizing it, he began to resent the monthly offering. Why should I keep giving? He muttered to Adeze one night. Adeze stared at him. Kofi, do not speak like that. You made an agreement. An agreement with a fish woman. What can she really do? The next month, he skipped the offering. Nothing happened. Emboldened, he skipped it again the following month. Still nothing. The fish kept coming, the money kept flowing, and Kofi convinced himself that Eyamba had either forgotten or never truly had any power to begin with. On the 3rd month that he skipped the offering, he went further. He hired a man from the city who brought chemicals, illegal substances that stunned fish in large numbers, poisoning the water to make harvesting easier. Within days, thousands of fish floated to the surface dead and ready for collection. Kofi sold them at massive profit. The river turned murky. The water began to smell. Other fishermen complained. The village elders called meetings. But Kofi had money now, and money had taught him to no longer listen. Then one night, the river went completely silent. Not one fish, not one ripple, not one sound. And in the silence, a voice rose from the water, low, ancient, and terrifying. Kofi Mensah. He ran to the riverbank and he saw her, but this was not Eyamba he remembered. This Eyamba was vast, her presence filling the entire surface of the water, her eyes no longer warm gold, but blazing like embers. The river behind her churned and roared, and the night sky above crackled with lightning, though there had been no clouds moments before. "You poisoned my river," she said. Her voice did not rise. It did not need to. It carried the weight of centuries. "You killed my children. You broke your oath, and you mocked the gift I gave you." Kofi fell to his knees. "Eyamba, please. I made mistakes. I was foolish. Please." "You were warned," she said.
I told you, greed is a river with no banks. You chose not to listen. She raised her hand from the water and Kofi felt something cold, not on his skin, but inside him, deep in his chest, like ice forming around his heart.
From this night forward, every net you cast will come up empty. Every fish you touch will rot before it reaches market. Every coin you earned through greed will vanish from your hands. And the river, my river, will remember your face and turn away from you for as long as you live. The light faded, the water stilled, and the yamba was gone. Within a week, everything Kofi had built began to collapse. His fish stocks disappeared overnight. His savings were stolen by the man he had hired from the city, who vanished without a trace. His new house developed cracks in the foundation. His helpers quit. The market vendors refused his goods. And every morning, when he cast his net into the river Mungo, the river that had once loved him, it came up empty. Every single time. Kofi Mensah lived the rest of his days as he had begun them, poor, struggling, and alone by the riverbank. But now he had something extra to carry, the knowledge that he had once held a miracle in his hands and thrown it away. The village of Abam still tells his story to this day, and every parent whispers the same warning to their children when they pass the river Mungo at night. Be grateful for what you are given, because the spirits of this river remember everything and they never forget a betrayal.